Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrind. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9. We are on chapter 4. Does anyone remember what we read yesterday?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We read about the lineage of Devasvat Manu and his grandson Nabhaga, like how Nabhaga was very, very humble and how he followed the instructions given by his father Nabhag. When Nabhag, his father, said that everything won in the arena is uh, every gold, everything that was left by all the rishis in the Yajna arena belonged to Lord Shiva. So he said, okay, he offered his obeisances and he said that, Lord, you can take everything, it all belongs to you. And then um, how Shivji got so pleased and he left everything to him. And then we heard about Nabhaga's son named Ambarīṣa Maharaj, who was a great devotee. And he is the personality of Atma Nivedanam. And we read that how now Maharaj Parikshit became very curious and he wanted to know more about him as though he was cursed by a Brahmin, but the curse did not work on him. So Maharaj Parikshit wanted to know more about him. And then we read more about him, that how he was very opulent and like, everything. He not only served Lord, but his devotees also. He was attached not only to the Lord, but to the devotees also. And like, he was not attached to the material things at all. He just remembered Krishna from all his Rishikesh Pada Sevanam. So he just served and remembered Krishna with all his mind, and then he served with all the senses, and the object of senses, he just served Krishna. So, and his desire was also always to remember Krishna for 24 hours and serve, and no material sense desires he had, nothing. So this is the way to attach our attachment to Krishna, by engaging our senses in service of Krishna. So we can increase our attachment to Krishna and we can be free from the material desires and go back to Godhead. So
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. That brings us to today's text, text 21. Evam sada karma kalapam atmanah
evam sada karma kalapma atmana
pare dhiyagye bhagavati adokshaje
pare dhiyagye bhagavat adhyokshje
sarvatma bhavam vidatan mahim imam
सर्व आत्मा भावम विदधन महिम इमम
tanishta vipra bihita shishasava.
तत्निष्ठ विप्रा अभिविहित सशास्त्र.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In performing his prescribed duties as king, Mahārāja Ambarīṣa always offered the results of his royal activities to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, who is the enjoyer of everything and is beyond the perception of material senses. He certainly took advice from Brahmanas, who were faithful devotees of the Lord, and thus he ruled the planet Earth without difficulty. Purport, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 5.29, Bhaktaram Yagya Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarva Bhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantim Richati. People are very much anxious to live in peace and prosperity in this material world. And here in Bhagavad Gita, the peace formula is given personally by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone should understand that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the ultimate proprietor of all the planets and is therefore the enjoyer of all activities, political, social, cultural, religious, economic, and so on. So here, peace formula. Peace formula. What is the peace formula? What we have to understand?
We have to understand three things: that Krishna is the proprietor, enjoyer of everything belongs to him, and he's the friend of everybody.
Yeah. And if we can understand this, then we can be peaceful. The Lord has given perfect advice in Bhagavad Gita and Ambarīṣa Maharaj as the ideal executive head, rule the entire world as a Vaishnava, taking advice from Vaishnava Brahmanas. The Shastras enjoin that even though a Brahmana may be well versed in the occupational Brahmanical duties and may be very learned in Vedic knowledge, he cannot give advice as a guru until he is a Vaishnava. So a Brahmana may or may not be a Vaishnava, but a Vaishnava is a Brahman. So, Satkarma Nipuno Vipro Mantra Tantra Visharada Avaishnava Guru Nasyad Vaishnava Shvapacho Guru. Therefore, as indicated here by the words Tannishta Viprabhihitaha, Mahārāja Ambarīṣa took advice from Brahmanas who were pure devotees of the Lord. For ordinary Brahmanas who are merely learned scholars or expert in performing ritualistic ceremonies are not competent to give advice. So we hear that so many kings, all the kings would take advice from the Brahmanas, but here we are hearing that Maharaj Ambarīṣa is taking advice from the Brahmanas who are pure devotees, and under their guidance, he's ruling the kingdom. Yeah. And because the pure devotees understand everything belongs to Krishna, so they are engaging Maharaj Ambarīṣa also to rule the kingdom in that way, understanding that everything belongs to Krishna. In modern times, there are legislative assemblies whose members are authorized to make laws for the welfare of the state. But according to this description of the kingdom of Maharaj Ambarīṣa, the country or the world should be ruled by a chief executive whose advisors are all devotee Brahmanas. Such advisors or members of the legislative assembly should not be professional politicians, nor should they be selected by the ignorant public. Rather, they should be appointed by the king. When the king, the executive head of the state, is a devotee, and he follows the instructions of devotee Brahmanas in ruling the country, everyone will be peaceful and prosperous. So we all want, as a society, we want to have a peaceful society. We want to have a prosperous society. And here, Maharaj Ambarīṣa, by his example, is showing how to do that. He's ruling under the guidance of the devotees, with the understanding that everything belongs to Krishna. When the king and his advisors are perfect devotees, nothing can be wrong in the state. All the citizens should become devotees of the Lord, and then their good character will automatically follow. Yasyasta bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarver gunestatra samasate sura harava bhaktasya kuto mahadguna manorathena asti dhavato bahi. One who has unflinching devotion for the personality of Godhead has all the good qualities of the demigods. But one who is not a devotee of the Lord has only material qualifications that are of little value. This is because he is hovering on the mental plane and is certain to be attracted by the glaring material energy. Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 18, Text 12. So here Bhagavatam is telling us, Lord Rishabdev is telling us that the devotees of the Lord, because they have devotion for the Lord, they have all good character. They have good qualities, divine qualities, godly qualities, qualities of the demigods. because they understand that everything belongs to Krishna. And then Maharaj Rishabh Devi is continuing to say that those who are non-devotees, they may have good qualities, but that's still on the material platform. So that's of little value. The real good characters of the, the pure devotees of the Lord. So citizens, under the guidance of a Krishna conscious king, will become devotees. And then there will be no need to enact new laws every day to reform the way of life in the state. So if the ruler is a devotee, so he's going to rule in a proper way. And then that will encourage the citizens also to become devotees. And then if everyone is a devotee, automatically there will be peace and prosperity in the society. If the citizens are trained to become devotees, they will automatically become peaceful and honest. And if they are guided by a devoted king, advised by devotees, the state will not be in the material world, but in the spiritual world. Like how everyone wants Ram Rajya, right? We hear so much that when Lord Ramachandra was ruling the kingdom, everyone was peaceful, everyone was happy, and so everyone again wants to have that kind Ram Rajya. So it can happen when when the leaders are devotees, then this world will become like the spiritual world. All the states of the world should therefore follow the ideal of the rule or administration of Mahārāja Ambarīṣa, as described here. Any comments? Questions? Okay, let's go on then. Icheshvamedharadhiyagyam Ishwaram
जय अश्वमेध्य अधियज्ञम् ईश्वरम्
Mahavibhutyo Pachitanga Dakshine
महाभिभूत्या उपचितङ्ग दक्षिणः
Tater Vashistha Sita Gautamādibhir
तते वसिष्ठा असगौतमाद्भिर्
Dhanvani Abhisrotamasau Saraswatim.
धन्वनी अभिस्त्रोतमसौ सरस्वतीम्.
In desert countries where they flowed the river Saraswati, Maharaj Ambarish performed great sacrifices like the Ashwamedh Yajna and thus satisfied the master of all yajnas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such sacrifices were performed with great opulence and suitable paraphernalia, and with contributions of dakshina to the brahmanas, who were supervised by great personalities like Vashishta, Asita, and Gautama, representing the king, the performer of the sacrifices. When one performs ritualistic sacrifices as prescribed in the Vedas, one needs expert brahmanas known as Yajnika brahmanas. So for these sacrifices, the Vedic sacrifices, these expert brahmanas are needed who can chant the mantras perfectly. They do the sacrifice on behalf of the king. Yajika brahmanas. In Kali Yuga, however, there is a scarcity of such brahmanas. Therefore, in Kali Yuga, the sacrifice recommended in Shastra is Sankirtan Yajna. Yajna Sankirtana Prayar Yajanti Hi Sumedasaha. So in Kali Yuga, we don't have many of these Yajika brahmanas who know how to perfectly chant the mantras, perfectly perform the sacrifice. And so that's why the Vedas are telling us in Kali Yuga that the recommended sacrifice for us is Sankirtan Yajna. Sankirtan Yajna, chanting of the holy names of the Lord congregationally. Yajna Sankirtana Prayar Yajanti Hi Sumedasaha. Those who are intelligent in this age of Kali, Sukadeva Goswami says, will take up this chanting of Sankirtan, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, instead of spending money unnecessarily on performing yagyas, impossible to perform in this age of Kali because of the scarcity of yagyika brahmanas. One who is intelligent performs Sankirtan yagya. Without properly performed yagyas to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there will be scarcity of rain. Yagyad bhavati parajanya. Therefore, the performance of yagya is essential. Without yagya, there will be a scarcity of rain. And because of this scarcity, no food grains will be produced and there will be famines. It is the duty of the king. I'm sorry, I lost it. Okay, yeah. It is the duty of the king, therefore, to perform different types of yagyas, such as the Ashwamedh yagya, to maintain the production of food grains. So Krishna says also in Bhagavad Gita, you know, perform sacrifice to please the demigods, and in this way there can be abundant rains. And there's abundant rains, there'll be sufficient food grains for everyone, and then human society can be peaceful. And also for other living entities. Everyone needs food to survive. So in earlier days of yore, earlier yugas, Ashwamedh Yagya was allowed. We hear the kings would perform this kind of sacrifices so that there is sufficient rainfall. But as we just understood, in Kali Yuga, this Ashwamedh Yagya is forbidden. The only yagya that is recommended for us is Sankirtan yagya. Sankirtan yagya, no need to spend money, no need to have elaborate arrangements. Just can sit down anywhere and start chanting, because we don't have this qualified brahmanas to chant those mantras. There's hardly very few of them available. And the paraphernalia, the items that are needed to perform these sacrifices properly are not there. We don't have those availability. So, Sankirtan Yagya. Annad bhavanti bhutani. Without food grains, both men and animals will starve. Therefore, yagya is necessary for the state to perform. Because by yagya, the people in general will be fed sumptuously. The brahmanas and yagyika priests should be sufficiently paid for their expert service. This payment is called dakshina. So, whenever any yagya is done, then the brahmanas and the pujaris, they have to be given dakshina. This payment, okay, Ambarīṣa Mahārāja, as the head of the state, performed all these yagyas through great personalities like Vasishtha, Gautama, and Asita. Personally, however, he was engaged in devotional service, as mentioned before. Savamana Krishna Pada Ravindayu. The king or head of state must see that things go on well under proper guidance, and he must be an ideal devotee, as exemplified by Mahārāja Ambarīṣa. It is the duty of the king to see that food grains are produced, even in desert countries, what to speak of elsewhere. So one may say, okay, well, he was a devotee, then why he's doing the Ashwamedh Yagya? Well, because he is the king. So it is his duty to make sure that there is sufficient rainfall everywhere, there is food grains sufficient for everyone. And in those Vedic times, the yagya that was recommended was the Ashwamedh yagya, and that's why he was uh, performing this kind of yagyas. Well, he was engaging the rishis, the sages, who are expert in performing this yagya to perform them on his behalf. Whereas he himself, he is engaged in devotional service, but he is asking the brahmanas that you all do this kind of yagya. Is that okay? Comments, questions? It's all right? Okay. So is it okay? We'll stop here for today.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila
Jai,
Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta
Jai,
Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Thank you all for
Hare
listening.
Krishna.